Hey, hey! How's it going, folks? Out on a morning walk with the dogs and feeling joy. Tuesday morning. Feels like Monday actually, because the Open Studios tour that I did Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So that felt like a weekend project. I just got out of the house with the dogs. I'm feeling a breeze. The light is gorgeous. The sounds around me, the birds. It's just beautiful. I live in such an amazing location and I fail to appreciate it often enough, which I'm sure is normal. The hectic, busy day-to-day life, you know. What is this life? If full of care, we have no time to stop and stare. So Clover still hasn't pooped. She's doing all right. We're still feeding her chicken and rice. She hasn't gone back onto her dry food. And we're not feeding her a lot. Nothing like what she would normally get. And she's bright. She's perky. But she hasn't pooped since her illness, and so hopefully this will be the day. She's doing all right. We're so relieved. That was quite a scary weekend actually. So I've been going over my thoughts about the Open Studio tour that I did with Freya and letting it settle a bit. It was hectic, particularly towards the end when it didn't look as though we were going to manage to get to all the artists in time, but we did manage. But what I've realised is that being under time pressure like that can detract a little from taking in the artwork, but also in a sense because had I not been doing this project, then I almost certainly wouldn't have gone round the art studios, definitely not all of them. I would probably have picked and chosen which ones sounded interesting. And so I think the time pressure was just, oh heavens above. The time pressure was just part of the project. I've never actually done a project like that before. I've done photography projects, but never video ones like that span over multiple days. But now I've been letting it sit. I've been going through the brochure and looking at websites, just consolidating in my mind who did what, because when you see 43 artists over 3 days, it can get a little garbled. But as a memory, it's something I shall cherish, and I hope it's something that Freya shall cherish as well. Travelling around the island for 3 days with my daughter, it was magical, absolutely splendid, and she was so great. When I suggested it to her, she was a bit, you know. But after the first day, she seemed excited to continue. And it was just lovely, driving around the island, seeing parts of the island that I haven't seen in a long time, because we live on the east coast, the most densely populated village of Lamlash, and work in Brodick, which is the main village on the island. And sometimes we get to Whiting Bay because I have friends there. But other than that, maybe the odd trip to Kildonan when we have visitors. And that's it. We rarely get to the west coast. Loch Ranza if we're travelling on the ferry. But that's the north end, not quite the west coast. So it was beautiful. And having Freya with me as my navigator, so she was reading the brochure and looking at times, figuring out which ones to go to next. We had an interesting one in Loch Ranza. We came out of the field centre there where we saw the Arran Collective, and we still had 2 more to go to in Loch Ranza, but it was just coming up for after 12 noon, and the Sannox Christian Centre one closed at 1. So we actually had to skip 2 in Loch Ranza, drive to Sannox, which is about 20 minutes, and then drive back to Lochranza to catch the two that we'd missed. So that added about 40 minutes actually with that drive, particularly with all the cyclists that are around at the moment. So, but we made it, you know, and we had some good banter, and I enjoyed the filming as well. The filming was, it got like a workflow, I suppose. Stop the car, switch on the pocket recorder, switch on the gimbal, double tap the joystick to get it into follow mode, get the camera ready, and then in we go. It'll be interesting to watch back because I haven't really audited the footage to see what sorts of mistakes I was making. That's part of the problem, is that I didn't really have much time when I got home to go through it and see what sorts of mistakes I'd been making and what I would like to change for the next day. But in a sense that's good, because it's going to be consistent. If there are things I would change, the mistakes, etc., they're going to be consistent throughout. The one thing I did change was the microphone, because when I spoke to Tim, who was the first artist that we went to visit, Tim Pomeroy, sculptor, poet, artist, painter, musician, one of them, and I filmed him in the studio with his talking, and as we came out of his wife Josephine's studio and went through to his, I walked in front of him, so the camera wasn't pointing at him, and I was like, that's not that's not how to film someone. But I realised that the microphone not pointing at him meant that even the audio wouldn't really be usable, and also the audio coming from me wouldn't be usable because I was behind the mic. So I switched from the directional microphone to the stereo mic, which has a wider pattern. I've not really listened back to much yet, so we'll see how that sounds, or we'll hear how that sounds rather. And yeah, I've been thinking about what artists have remained in my mind, and there are a few. Obviously you see all sorts of different types of art and different standards of art, and that got me thinking a little about how much of it's down to taste, how much of it's down to talent, because I'm no art critic, but I know what I like, you know what I mean? I did see some pieces that really did move me. Senya was one. She's in Largymore, Whiting Bay, and she had painted some huge waves which were just stunning. But I think part of the attraction there for me, I mean, firstly the artwork was stunning, but we also had a really nice conversation, and we connected. I think we had some similar thought patterns, but the artwork connected with me before the conversation. But it's all part of it, isn't it? And it's one of the strange things I found, or not strange rather, one of the things is probably to be expected. I mean, not everyone's comfortable on camera or mic, but I think artists in some ways particularly can be quite insular, and the idea of expressing themselves on camera can be challenging, you know. And I did find that with some of them, and I had to learn, you know, not to take it as an affront to me, and, you know, just let it be what it was. And I did encounter some artists who weren't comfortable on camera and actually said no, they wouldn't, and that's fine. But I had one in particular who, it was a strange one. She asked if I was the official Open Studios filmmaker, and I said no, it's just a personal project. And then she said, well, I don't want to be in it. So I said, okay, that's fine. and I started to film some of her work, and she said, "Or my work." And she was quite brusque. And that kind of set me on my back foot a little bit, you know. Kind of challenged my ego a bit. And that's something I have to learn to deal with when I'm doing projects like that. Same sort of thing I'm sure street photographers deal with all the time. And street photography is an area that is probably my favourite genre, actually, of photography. And I have done it myself, and I do find it challenging. So, yeah, it's just an observation. I'm not going to pass judgment or anything. It was an interesting observation. So, yeah, the artist that have remained with me, that was one Senya. The other one that really stood out was the Indian sculptor Kapuskar, I think his surname. He and his wife were both displaying their artworks, and the sculptures that I saw just blew my mind. And he didn't speak great English, his wife spoke for him, so I've got some footage that will come of the two of them talking. Well, with the wife talking and her husband's interjecting little bits and pieces. But she said that he's a celebrated artist in India, and that he has a studio over there and a forge. So he works in bronze. I don't know about other metals, I know he certainly works in bronze. But when I got home, I looked him up on his website, and oh my golly gosh, his work is absolutely phenomenal. And I urge you all to look him up, which of course you can't do because I've forgotten his name. His wife is Sharad Kapuskar, and his name is something Kapuskar. Starts with a sh. But his artwork, his sculptures are just mind-blowing. There was one looked to be life-size of Mahatma Gandhi and a lady. I don't know if it was his wife or who it was. And it just looked like two people walking along. But there was one in particular on his website of a girl sitting cross-legged down near the bottom of the particular page, and it just, oh, I've always had a thing for sculpture like that, life, what would you call it? True life sculpture? I'm not sure what you would call it. It's not abstract, it's actual people and faces and busts and heads. Just blows me away, you know. I remember years and years ago, it was probably about 19, when the Waverley Art Gallery in Prestwick had a bronze of a ballet dancer putting on her shoes, whatever ballet shoes are called. And it moved me, you know, and at the age of 19 I wasn't particularly moved by very much in the way of art. But for some reason that just spoke to me, and these kinds of sculptures still do. So yeah, I'll put a link in the description to this, and you can look him up. So yeah, he really stood out. Amazing, amazing work. And now I'm left with loads of footage and wondering what to do with it, how to edit it, and what my end goal is. So the idea was always one film, all the artists, with some talking and some artwork, with some background music, so maybe cut some of the talking into voiceover and put that over the artwork. But that's going to come in at, say I do 2 minutes per artist, we're looking at 86 minutes, which is too long. The interview shows I do, sometimes they can run to an hour. Some of the podcasts that I listen to go to 2 hours. But I think for this kind of video, that would be too long. Now, Freya suggested chopping it up and doing like a series. So maybe start with 1 to 10 and then 10 to 20. So it would be like 4 films, I guess. And then I could maybe do 20 minutes each per film. And that's actually not a bad idea. But I would still want to have a short film with all of them. So I'd thought of maybe doing like 2 or 3 seconds of each talking head, but without any audio, and put music behind it and cut the cuts, the transitions to the beat of the music, if I could find music that had the right kind of BPM, and put some of the artwork in as well, and try and come up with maybe like a 3-minute clip, which then Open Studios could use as a kind of promo video. And then just do individual artists and let the artists use those and make a playlist on YouTube. I think that would be quite interesting. Last night I was playing with Instagram TV. Never really used it before because I did like a teaser video a couple of nights ago of Tim Pomeroy showing me around his studio. That was the one I was talking about where I walked in front of him. I thought that's a nice kind of 1 minute 30 clip that I could just chuck up on Instagram stories. And Instagram stories is good because it chops your video up into 15-second individual clips and stitches them together, but I didn't realise that it would still cut you off after 1 minute, and that's what happened. And that's the trouble with Instagram. Let me just have a rant about Instagram for a second. Why do they not let you post from your computer? I just don't get it. You have to render your video to Dropbox, go into my phone, download the video to my phone and then post it. I mean, it just seems needless. Wouldn't you agree? And when you're looking at pictures, I've got an Instagram app for my Windows computer from the Microsoft Store, and it's great. You can look through pictures, you can comment, but you can't swipe when you've got the carousels. There's all sorts of restrictions on there, not least of which is that you can't post. I just don't get it. Anyway, there's my Instagram rant. Instagram TV, I wasn't even really sure what it was, to be honest. But last night I posted the full clip, the 1 minute 30, and it posted. So, yay. I'm not sure where it goes. Does it post an excerpt on my timeline? I haven't really looked at it because I went straight to bed after I'd posted it, so I'm not sure how it works, but I think it might work for doing the individual artist posts, which I can then tag. Can you tag posts in Instagram TV? Don't know, but that would be the idea. So I could get, however, I don't know if there is a time restriction on Instagram TV videos, but I could probably get them down to 3 minutes, which would be a reasonable length, I feel. And then share that, tag that with the Arran Open Studios account and have them share it to theirs. I've got some figuring out to do. So that's what I'm up to. Today seems full of potential, but where are we now? 9:25, and I'm not entirely sure what my layout is for today, what my timetable is. It's not going to be what I've timetabled in my calendar, I don't think, because I need to be getting to the edits and I need to be working for Crofters today, because I didn't yesterday. The Crofters got in touch, forwarded me an email from an advertiser who's looking for some high resolution images, and I don't know that I have any that are suitable. The problem is with the exterior of the building, always cars parked. There will never be, well, never say never, but it's going to be a rare thing to be able to capture the exterior of the building without cars being parked, unless I'm really close and have like a 12mm lens, but I don't have one of them. That would work, I think, but then I don't know, it would look too imposing, I think, to be that close. I don't know, it's a challenge. I do have some exterior shots from years ago, but they won't do because it was called Fiddlers then, and it had a really quite a different look. So I'm not sure what to do. I can have a look through my Crofter's tag in Lightroom, but it's pretty much mostly musicians. And if there are interior shots, they're probably going to have customers in them, and so that would require a release. So it's a tricky one. I could get the bus in and take some photos this morning before they open at 11. I could do that, but the bus is at 9:33 and it's now 9:28. I'm still out with the dogs and haven't had my breakfast yet. It's a tricky one. Maybe I'll arrange to go in tomorrow morning and catch them before opening. So yeah, I'll get in touch. I'll reply to the email today, and I think I'll suggest that. I'll go in the morning. So yeah, that's me. Clover still hasn't done any business, but she's very sniffy. She's her normal self in all regards except that one. And she's not back on her normal food yet, but I think we're through the worst, and that's a huge relief. So, thanks for listening, folks, and I will talk to you again tomorrow, or perhaps even later today, whenever the urge takes me. Thanks, folks. Bye for now. She pooped.